Namaskar. Welcome to this webinar. This is our second class of the course on the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata according to Tantra. So welcome, and I hope you have watched the first class or you have participated online. There is one correction to do on that first class. I will do it as I just do a review. We were talking about the human structure, that the Dharmakshetra means the field of the battle. There is the Dharmakshetra and the Kurukshetra. So the Dharmakshetra is the human structure. And in the first shloka of the Bhagavad Gita, it goes that Dhritarashtra said, and he was asking Sanjay. So Dhritarashtra was the king, was the blind king, and actually that is the mind, human mind. Mind is blind. It cannot see without conscience. So that's the right word, conscience. And Sanjay means conscience. And that was the first verse. And this is a correction from the class number 1. Now, also during this class, if you want to communicate with me, you can write on the chat window. Then I can see it. If you want to ask questions, you can type your questions there. And you can type the questions also during the presentation. You don't have to wait until the end. And I will keep also time in the end for questions. Okay, so today, the second lesson, it's about the meaning of the word Krishna, the linguistic meaning, philosophical meaning. So it's the Krishna Tattva, let's say. And also we'll see the meaning, the mystical meaning and the historical meaning. So let's move ahead. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, which is the supreme being, the supreme personality, he is a character and he speaks in first person and he explains his complete philosophy. And that is the part of the Mahabharata which is called the Bhagavad Gita. So as the Supreme Personality is speaking, is giving his doctrine, his philosophy, so the Gita is an expression of the Supreme. So that's why the name is Bhagavad Gita. Gita means something that is sung, and Bhagavat means by Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is singing, or Bhagavan is expressing, Bhagavan is giving it. And the word Krishna is actually all the words in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Mahabharata, all the names that are used are very interesting part of the philosophy. The meaning of those names is part of the philosophy that's being explained. So understanding that is very important so that we can really get the deeper meaning of this scripture. So the word Krishna has 3 interpretations in Sanskrit. So the first interpretation, Krish is a root verb, and the meaning is to attract, to draw everything to oneself. So Krishna is that entity that is attracting. So he is like saying, come, come, come to me. So that's the first meaning of the word Krishna. And then we come to the second meaning. The second meaning of Krishna is just black color. Krishna means the black color. And the black color is also the color that has more or creates more attraction for the human being. So the color that has the greatest attraction to the human mind is Krishna, and it's the color black. So that's the second meaning. And the third meaning of Krishna is the feeling of I am. You know, our mind usually is thinking about so many activities that we are doing, the actions that we are involved in, the people we are involved in. So that is occupying our mind. So that is like the more objectivated part of the mind. But the mind cannot think if it doesn't have that the first feeling of existence. It means within us there is that feeling of existence, that I am. If we can withdraw the mind from all the external activities, bring it within, go beyond all the superficial thoughts, and deeper and deeper, we will come to this feeling of I am. So the Krishna also means that feeling, that I am. So Krishna is the supreme attracting faculty. It is attracting and attracting. So, but what is it? What does it attract? It attracts the mind, our mind. And how does it attract? It attracts it within. Deeper and deeper is the feeling of I am, which is the deepest feeling inside. So, the moment we can feel peace, bring our mind to a balanced state, we will start feeling that I am. And that will attract us to go deeper and deeper within. So that's the meaning of the word Krishna. Now, historically, Krishna was also a human being living in this planet. As per the knowledge that I have from my teacher, about 3,500 years ago, Krishna was living in this planet as a human being. Now, this date differs. Other people will say different dates, 5,000 years or... Well, let's see as time goes by what will be the conclusion. But as per the knowledge that I'm using, that I'm getting, it's about 3,500 years ago. So Krishna was also a human being, born in the city of Mathura in India. And he received the name Krishna from his uncle. His uncle was Maharishi Garga. He was a very elevated soul and could see the extraordinary qualities of the child and gave the name Krishna. All the names in Sanskrit have a very special and deep meaning. So each name has a meaning and it's related to the personality of the one who is holding that name. So just by naming the child Krishna, it's a very special thing. So the uncle of Krishna gave that name. So as I mentioned in the beginning, in the Mahabharata, in the Bhagavad Giita, all the names that are used are very special. So every word has a meaning, every word has a history. Now, another meaning of this verb krish is to do research. So now it comes to the same meaning of the I am, because through very deep research within ourselves, will attain that feeling of I am. So what someone attains through profound practice, spiritual practice, is Krishna. So now, as you see, just the meaning of the word is giving us an insight into this personality, who Krishna was. All right, so that was the meaning of the word Krishna. Now let's see another word. We'll check the word Bharata. So we start from Bharatavarsha. Bharatavarsha, Varsha means a land. And Bharata, it means a land that can provide subsistence. And at the same time can help people develop. So now, historically, at the time of Mahabharata, the Bharata was not only India, it was also a big area around India. So it was much more expanded than only the country of India today. So that was the Bharata Varsha. And that area was divided in many small states. And those small states also were in contrast with each other. They were in conflict with each other. So that was like the historical situation on the time that Krishna was born. So now he had a mission. He had a mission for the inner self. He also had a mission for the society. So that was to unify that area, Bharatavarsha. It was basically all these small countries and full of kings and leaders that were just fighting themselves, and each one trying to dominate and to have more. And so now Krishna was born in that historical time, and also he had that mission to unify it, to make it the Mahabharata, the great Bharata. It means to unify, to make it one. And to fulfill his mission, he needed a strategy. He needed a method how to do it. So the way he did it was through the Mahabharata war. So he created that whole situation with the intention that in the end he will end up unifying this Bharatavarsha. Now, that is, let's say, in the external world. So in the external world, that was his mission. He had a mission to unify these divided small countries and make a big unified one. At the same time, not only unify it, but also establish righteousness or dharma in that land. So make dharma to be accepted by the people. So that was happening, let's say, in the external world. But now let's see in our structure within ourselves, what was his mission? So the human body is the structure we have, and this is the Dharma Kshetra. So the fight was happening in the Kurukshetra. Okay, so Krishna created the war of the Mahabharata in the Kurukshetra. Now the fight is also happening in the Dharma Kshetra, means our human structure. So how does this structure work in relation to this attainment of let's say unification within, or how to move towards that feeling of I am. Our body, physical body, has different systems: respiratory system, digestive system, circulatory system, and so many systems. But there is a particular system that's very important. It's called the endocrine system, and it's formed by a number of endocrine glands. Now, these glands, they produce certain hormones. They can produce more or less, and hormones affect the mind and affect our emotions, or we say our mental propensities, like fear or shyness or hope or indifference. And there is a number of propensities. So we want to go beyond the externalities of the mind, beyond all these propensities, towards that feeling of I am. Now, it will be important that we can control these mental propensities. Now, so what is the system? The glandular system, the endocrine glands, are at the level of physical, means the physical body. Now there is the subtle body, where there is another type of structure, which is known in yoga as chakra. Chakra, or a psycho-spiritual point or center, or a point of control. These are points or mental substations in the body which control certain propensities. So there are 7 main chakras. And these 7 main chakras are centers of control. The highest chakra, which is called the Sahasrara, it controls all the other chakras, and it controls all the functions of our structure. So one may think that if I control the Sahasrara, then all the others come under control. In one sense, it happens, but if we do not control all the other chakras, and we only try to control the Sahasrara, we will not get a good result. So we will not be successful. So it is very important that each chakra will come under control, and then that control is extended to the Sahasrara, and then we have control over the whole structure, and we reach that feeling of I am that is deep within. Now, so what happens is that one will have to do a practice that will help attain the control over each chakra. And it means one will elevate one's own individual consciousness from the level of the first chakra to the level of the last chakra. This individual consciousness, or this, let's say, individual energy, is called in yoga the Kula Kundalini. So as one elevates one's consciousness from the lower chakra to the highest chakra, it means one is elevating this Kula Kundalini, which moves within the spine. So within the spinal cord, there is a channel within which this Kula Kundalini will move from the lowest chakra to the highest chakra. So now the practice is to elevate gradually this consciousness or this energy from the lower chakra to the highest chakra. So it will go from the first one, which is called Muladhara chakra, to the last one, which is called the Sahasrara, which is on the top of the head. So if this consciousness, individual consciousness, is elevated to the highest chakra, it means we will attain that feeling of I am, pure feeling. And not just the, let's say, individual I am, but the cosmic I am. That's the connection between the individual consciousness and the cosmic consciousness happens in that higher chakra. So now we are looking at the human structure from the point of view of Tantra or Yoga, the system of chakras, the Kundalini, and the practice to elevate the Kundalini from the lowest chakra to the highest chakra. So spiritual elevation means spiritual development happens when this Kundalini gets elevated from the lowest chakra to the highest chakra. Kundalini is also called Jiva Bhava. Bhava would be like consciousness or ideation, and Jiva is the individual. So this individual consciousness or Kula Kundalini Shakti in Tantra is also called Radha. And we see a lot of stories, we hear a lot of stories of Krishna and Radha. That Radha is always searching for Krishna, Radha always wants to be near Krishna, because Krishna is actually the central controlling point in the Sahasrara chakra. So that is the controlling point of all expressions of a human being. And Radha is that Kula Kundalini which is moving chakra by chakra towards Krishna. So that play of Krishna and Radha, which we see so many stories about, is symbolic. And in the Mahabharata, also a lot of it is symbolic. You know, there is a symbolism. If we can understand, then we get the right message. If we can't understand the symbolism, yes, there are many moral teachings, many stories that give guidance, but we do not understand the deepest inner meaning, and that is related to our spiritual elevation. So this is Krishna, the biological interpretation of Krishna. So in our biological structure, what is Krishna? Krishna is the highest chakra, the Sahasrara chakra. So that is Krishna. And in that Sahasrara chakra is the connection between the I am as a jiva, as an individual, and I am as Krishna, as cosmic entity. So as individual consciousness and supreme consciousness meet at that point. So as we see up in this presentation up to now, there are various interpretations of the word Krishna. But what we also going to see is that all these Krishna or all these Krishnas, they coincide into one, It means that it is all one. So Krishna is at the same time the essence of Dharma. He is a mystery. He is also supreme consciousness, and is also the controller of all the human expressions in the human physical structure, and also the controller of the universal expressions as supreme consciousness. And is the most beloved. So Radha is loving Krishna all the time. It wants always to be with Krishna. And at the same time, Krishna is the nearest. So Radha is representing our human consciousness. And Krishna is also for us the nearest. So all that, it means Krishna means all that. And in short, let's say Krishna is the most attractive, is also the black color. It means the most attractive color. It is the feeling of I am, which is deep within our mind. It's also historical personality that lived on this planet as a human being. At the same time, it represents in our structure, in the system of chakras, it represents the seventh chakra, the highest chakra. It's called also the chakra of 1,000 petals. And it is attracting us. And from that chakra, from the Sahasrara chakra, it is attracting the Kula Kundalini, which is Radha. So Radha is always searching Krishna. And it's the controller of the human structure, at the same time is the controller of the cosmic structure, the most beloved and the nearest one. So this is the summary of today's presentation. The whole presentation is on the word Krishna, the various meanings of this word and what it represents, and how it expresses historically, means Krishna was born in this planet thousands of years ago, gave a philosophy, created a situation to establish Dharma, to unify the society, gave a practice, an inner practice, gave his philosophy, and at the same time, that same personality that expressed historically is within us in our own feeling of I am. And in the science of Tantra and the science of Yoga, in the system of chakras, Krishna has its own special position, its special controlling role. And in feeling or in devotion, in the practice of devotion, he is the most beloved and the nearest. And that's about Krishna. So that is like the main point of the presentation today. Now I would like to bring it into questions. If you have questions, if you have any point that I should repeat further, then I can add to that. Or if you have a particular question, please write it on the window that you have there, the chat window. You type the question and I can see the question and I will answer it. So we have another quite many minutes to discuss and to go on the questions. Okay. All right, so the first question is if I could explain a little bit more on the chakras. Okay, let me go back here. I will go back to the slide of the chakras. Okay. All right, so this one. Okay, chakras. Let's define it as a substation of the mind. It means it is a substation from where the mind controls the structure. Like our human structure is controlled by the mind. But the mind is not only like in the area of the head, of the brain. The mind has substations, so these are the chakras. Now, different chakras correspond also to different levels of consciousness, let's say. Higher chakras, the consciousness is more elevated. What does it mean, more elevated consciousness? It means the individual consciousness is closer to the cosmic consciousness. It means we feel closer to the cosmic consciousness. That means spiritual elevation. As we feel closer to the cosmic consciousness, what do we experience? We experience more balance within ourselves, and we experience more bliss, because Supreme Consciousness is a full expression of bliss, and as we move close to it, we feel more bliss at every step. So now the practice is to elevate the consciousness from the lowest chakra to the highest chakra. And that highest chakra is the Krishna. So that's a little bit in short about this system. Okay. There is another question here. Was Krishna human or God or both? And there is another, just a complementing that question is, was Radha a goddess? Can you explain the relationship more? All right. So let's go to that one. Okay. Now, I explained the various meanings of the word Krishna. So, from the beginning, we said that this is the Bhagavad Gita. So, Gita means it is sung by, Bhagavat means Bhagavan, by Bhagavan. So, sung by Bhagavan. And Bhagavan has certain characteristics, means has the bhaga, so it's part of the course. So Bhagavan is the expression of Supreme Being. Okay, so now the Gita of Bhagavan, so the expression of the Supreme Being. And in the Gita, who is expressing? Is Krishna. Now, what are the meanings of Krishna? So one is the supreme attractive one, the most attractive one. Is also the supreme being. It means it's the supreme I, the cosmic I am. And in the human structure, it is the highest chakra. Now, at the same time, and this will be also, we'll talk more about this as the course goes on, that Supreme Personality expressed as a human being. So it means Krishna at the same time is the supreme entity, and at the same time expressed in this physical world as a human being, or let's say in a better way, using a human body, a human structure, because the human structure is the most developed structure in this planet. You see, there are different structures in the planet: plant structure, animal structure, and human structure. So this human body is a very special structure. It's the highest or the most perfect structure in this planet. So therefore, Supreme Being expressed through this structure at a certain period of time, because human body lasts for a certain period of time. Let's say, I like to say that it lasts for 100 years. So let's say for a certain period of time, Supreme Being took this body of 5 elements and 5 fundamental factors and expressed historically in the planet. So that we can say that, okay, so that is expression, divine expression, so that is God. And at the same time is, for a certain period in time, took a human body. But it doesn't need to take all the time. So for a certain period, it took a human body with a special mission, using that physical body, utilizing it also to give spiritual knowledge and also to do a mission in the society. So all that happened. Now the 5 elements are not the 5 chakras, but the 5 chakras control, each chakra control one of the elements. The first chakra will control the solid, second chakra liquid, third chakra luminous, fourth chakra aerial, and fifth chakra controls the ethereal. So 5 factors controlled by the 5 chakras. So Krishna, let's say, is the Supreme Personality. Krishna also was a historical personality, and Krishna is a philosophical personality. Krishna is also biological structure in our body, which is the Sahasrara chakra. So all that is Krishna, and now maybe not in the further classes we'll see that all that, there is no contradiction between all of these, and all of this is one. So that's one important point. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, okay. Is Krishna and Radha like Shiva and Shakti? In a certain way, yes. In a certain way, yes. Okay, we will not. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different, but we are not going into that in Shiva and Shakti. But there is a relation. Maybe I will explain as the course goes on, and maybe I will bring this point so as to see the difference and the similarities. One thing that we have to take into consideration is that there is a certain symbolism that is transmitted in a way of a story. Because, for example, Radha was not really, let's say, while Krishna was, let's say, a human being living on this planet and everything, there is a question, if Radha also was a living person, because here Radha is basically a symbolic thing, and all the stories of Krishna and Radha are actually symbolic. It's not like while Krishna teaching Arjuna in the Gita as part of the Mahabharata, that is how to say, a part of the war like this. At the Krishna and Radha is different. It's just a symbolic thing. Okay. Maybe in other presentations, maybe I'll touch more this point also. Okay, so let me see if there are more questions. Okay, continuing the discussion. Okay, I will jump one question and go to this one. The idea of divine lovers, yin, yang, masculine, feminine, there's even masculine and feminine is also symbolic, because usually masculine is used for consciousness, and feminine is used for, let's say, consciousness is cognitive principle, and the feminine is used for the operative principle. Let's say consciousness is Purusha and operative principle is Prakriti. So usually Purusha we use masculine and Prakriti we use feminine, but it does not have a relation with the sex of human beings or animals or like that. So we have to see the symbolic part of it and the way it is expressed in philosophy, how let's say, how it is used in the philosophy and how we use in our day-to-day life. So that it's very important to understand what the symbolism is representing deeply and not remain in the external side of it. Okay, so I will go to the other question, another question here. Okay, what do we know about the live person Krishna? Was he a king like Arjuna as far as the external world? Yes, Krishna was also relative. They were all relatives. So Krishna was also relative of Arjuna, and he also was a king. So he had also his kingdom. There were many kingdoms. So he was also a king, and Arjuna did not really become a king. Arjuna was a prince. So actually his elder brother Yudhishthira became the king. So Yudhishthira was the king. Arjuna was only a prince. But Krishna had his own kingdom. He was also a king. And he was born in that Bharatavarsha, which was, there were all these small kingdoms. So there were many kings. And so his purpose, what was his purpose? His purpose was to unify. So there is a question here, what was Krishna's purpose and why was there a war? Well, there were reasons for the war in the sense that there was this rivalry between these 5 brothers and the 100 brothers, and they didn't get along with each other, and then there was the war. So, but that is like the external cause of the war. But so why there was a war? We can say that the war was Krishna's strategy, that by creating that war, in the story, he actually tried to avoid the war, but basically it was his creation. So means nothing happens without the will of the Supreme Entity. So he was playing a historical role, but at the same time, the war was created in order to bring unification to all those kingdoms, in order to establish Dharma. So that was the way or the strategy that Krishna used in order to bring the unification, which was his mission in the external society, while his mission within was to elevate those various human beings to reach the cosmic status. No. Okay. And now, okay, on a follow-up question, was this whole story based in India? Well, it was in this land called Bharatavarsha, which included not only India but all neighboring countries. And I think it went all the way as far as Cambodia and all the way as far as, let's say, Afghanistan and all those countries, maybe even Iran. But we don't have that exact information, but it is a much more than just the country which is India today. No, but India today, people call it Bharata. But that at those days, the Bharatavarsha was basically much more than that. Okay. All right. I think I touched most of the questions here. Anybody having any further question? Otherwise, we could also end the presentation. Let me come to the end here. Okay, we are still in the question. Can you explain Radha and Kula Kundalini? Yes, okay. We are human beings. Besides our regular life, where most human beings are attracted to the external world, when one goes into the inner world, means brings the mind within and brings the mind to the spirituality or the spiritual world. The mind passes through different stages to go from somebody who is very much materialistic to become someone that is deep spiritual being. There are different stages. So basically, a very materialistic person feels very far from the Supreme. So let's say if you talk to a very materialistic person, he or she may even think that, oh, there is no God, there is no Supreme Being, there is only what I can see, what I can touch, that's all that exists. So at that stage, one is feeling so far from the Supreme that doesn't even feel that it exists. Okay, now there comes a time that people start being a little bit attracted by spiritual things. So in the beginning there is some curiosity, then one starts to feel more connection to it, then one starts to feel it, that, oh yes, this Supreme Being exists, and then it develops further, oh, it's near me, or I can come close to it, I can connect with it, I can touch it, I can feel it very close. So these are different stages of consciousness. Higher consciousness, one feels very close to the Supreme. Lower consciousness, one feels very far. Now, when we look at that in the structure of our human structure, the highest chakra, one is very close to the Supreme, is connecting with the Supreme. And in the lowest chakra, one is the furthest from the Supreme. Okay, so in spirituality or in spiritual science, it says that our consciousness is sleeping, means it is disconnected from this Supreme Consciousness. So it's sleeping in the lowest chakra. So it is lying there sleeping. Now we have to wake up this consciousness, and we have to elevate this consciousness to the highest chakra. Now, this individual consciousness, or this ideation that we have, individual, which in the beginning is very far from the Supreme, and in the highest chakra is connecting with it, is called the Kula Kundalini. And this, as it moves or up chakra by chakra, we feel more attraction to the Supreme, means we feel closer and we feel more the attraction. So this Kula Kundalini is symbolically in represented by Radha. So the story is created just to represent this Kula Kundalini. So that is Radha. So what is Radha is the Kula Kundalini. Now what is Krishna? Krishna is what or who Radha wants to be close to, who Radha wants to reach. So who is Krishna? Krishna is the highest chakra. So now, to elevate this individual human consciousness from the lowest chakra to the highest chakra, that is the Tantric process, elevation of Kula Kundalini from the lowest chakra to the highest chakra. So the highest chakra, as it moves from chakra to chakra, each chakra it attains a higher consciousness up to reaching the Sahasrara chakra, which is the highest consciousness, Supreme Consciousness. So, and that is the point where individual consciousness and Supreme Consciousness become one. So that's in the Sahasrara chakra, the highest chakra. So that is the symbolism of Radha moving towards Krishna. And what is the method to do it? So there are various practices, but the practice, okay, let's say that the basic practice we can call in English meditation, but there are different practices of meditation. And we are going to talk a little bit about some of the practices as the course goes on. Okay, so I think maybe for today, I think we can stop here. And this class is being recorded. You will get the recording via mail, and you can review it, and we'll talk more on the next one. We have 10 classes. This is the second one. Many of the concepts will be repeated so that in different ways, so that you can grasp it. So don't worry, and see you next week. Namaskar.